Demon Slayer just set a new standard. Has it? Has it really? So why the fuck doesn't every Demon Slayer coat their blade with this shit? The character writing in Demon Slayer is atrocious. Are you trying to piss me off? So he's just awake with more steps. It's just quirky for the sake of being quirky. It's a complete waste of character writing. Are our standards this low that this derivative garbage can become a generation-defining piece of media? You cannot expect the things you read or watch to be perfect. You cannot expect them to have no flaws. But for God's sake, people, have higher standards than this.
It's gonna get spicy today, folks. What can be said about this anime right here that hasn't been said already? Not much. Pretty much everybody has talked about this anime already. Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's a show that I barely started watching a year ago in 2024, and I love the show. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's perfect by any means, or is it trash like other people are saying, carried by animation, mid-plot. Now, do I agree with a lot of these opinions? No. Like, I do love the show. I enjoy anime in general. I mean, as you can see, I'm wearing a Mikasa shirt, which, by the way, I'm gonna have to change. Give me a second. Yep, much better. Rengoku-san. So, you saw the title. I understand that there's many Demon Slayer hate videos out there, but I decided to tackle the big dogs. The one with the most views is by yours truly, Captain Mac. Now listen, I'm not gonna encourage any harassment. These are just his opinion. And listen, I know it's weird, like, why am I making a video basically shitting on this guy? It's not because I'm shitting on his opinions, because what he says could be his opinion, but they're just wrong. In terms of Demon Slayer hate videos, this is the one I've seen people react to the most. So if you want to watch those videos, go ahead. I'll try my best to find some of the channels who I liked, who I reacted to. You know, shout out to them for inspiring me to make this video. Like I said, I don't want any harassment or sent towards Captain Mac here. He like that. That's his content. That's his opinion. But when you're presenting the video like if it's a fact, but then the stuff you're saying in it is opinionated, which you even say in the video that it's your opinion and that all of this is subjective.
Look, art is subjective. In fact, all of this is.
So, without further ado, let's give it a watch. In the beginning of the video, he's just talking about what is Demon Slayer. I kind of find it funny that he's actually showing this clip right here when he's talking about what is Demon Slayer, the first episode, which is important to another point later on in the video.
Tanjiro is going to become a Demon Slayer in order to search for a way to make Nezuko human again. So, it is okay to kill demons, but only the demons that aren't his sister. There's zero chance that any other demon is morally ambiguous. No, this will not be a plot point.
Did you forget that these two characters existed? As far as we've seen, Tamayo and Yushiro are the only good demons as well. It's not just Nezuko, you know. Again, it's like he forgot that these two characters existed.
The only way to kill a demon is to expose them to sunlight or to cut off their head with a special kind of sword. What makes this sword special, and why can it kill demons? Well, these swords are made from metal mined out of a volcano, which has the power of the sun contained in the earth, and I'm just fucking with you, there's no reason. It's never gonna be explained, so just don't question it.
I find it funny that you actually have a manga section in your video, because this actually does explain in the manga how the swords are made. You could have just easily searched this up, or even the episode clip that you're showing in that specific part of the episode, they literally explain the whole thing with the swords and why it's able to kill demons. And to give you the benefit of the doubt, I know you left a comment saying that, yeah, I made a mistake and oops, I forgot. Boy just pulled a Muchuro right there. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, だってさっき黙ってろって言われたし、それに...
So in this part of the video, he's gonna talk about the problems with breathing.
There are, in fact, many different ways to breathe. They're breathing, everybody. I just want to make that clear.
This makes it seem like all you have to do is just... and boom, I can do water breathing. Like, in terms of learning breathing styles, it takes a toll on someone's body, which this point will be important also later on. It's almost like in the real world where many people who do, you know, boxing, MMA, or even if you're in the military, it's a real life thing where there's many different ways to do breathing techniques. I mean, you make it seem like it's easy and then all you have to do is just breathe in and out. But I mean, all the training that Tanjiro has went through, I mean, including this right here, blowing into these gourds, I think they're called. And by doing a little bit of research, you understand the importance and how it helps in battle with total concentration breathing. Or like the example I gave here, I mean, it shows you the benefits and also the real life examples I gave, but this one talks about the importance of yoga and meditation by doing proper breathing techniques.
Water breathing. This means that when he attacks, it appears as though water is rushing out of his sword. But don't be fooled. As far as I can tell, this is just visual flair for us as the audience to enjoy. In reality, he's just swinging his sword around. There's no actual water. Not that I would blame you for thinking otherwise, given that it is never explained or even alluded to.
The idea that it's not explained or alluded to. If it's not explained in the manga or alluded to in the show, then explain this picture right here from the manga. So if you read right here on the third paragraph, it says, "No, swordsmen don't actually unleash water attacks. People who just see this just think that they see and feel it." And if you ever pay attention to the show, just look at the words that they're saying. The key word that you're looking for anytime they call out a moveset is the word forms. The arguments that I've seen is that people didn't like the fact that it took up 17 volumes for them to even acknowledge or explain that, no, there's no actual water / any other element coming out of their weapons. It's for visual effect. I just don't understand this idea, this notion that like, everything needs to be explained from the get-go, from the first panel of the manga, or even their first volume, or in the first episode of the anime. And to give those people the benefit, I understand that maybe there are some anime that do this, where everything is literally explained. Not to say that that doesn't exist, but I mean, as far as I've seen with the list of animes that I've watched, a lot of shit is never explained from the get-go. And going back to Demon Slayer, I have a challenge for you. To Captain Mac or to anybody else who doesn't agree with this point. I want you to find me a scene from the anime, from whichever season, or a screenshot from the manga panel of a demon of any kind basically acknowledging the water coming out of Tanjiro's sword or any other element from another character. I'm not talking about breathing style specifically, because I do know for a fact that some demons do acknowledge the breathing style that they're doing or what kind of hashira they are because of their outfit. I'm not talking about breathing style or breathing techniques. I'm talking about the actual fire or the actual water coming out of the sword.
My main problem with breathing comes from a lack of differentiation. Now, I know at first that may not make any sense, given that each style is very visually distinct. But what I'm talking about is functionality.
And the reason why they're exact, a lot of them function the same and they act the same way. I mean, first of all, a lot of them are using swords. That's number one. And number two, if in that, I forgot what episode and what number of episode it is, but it's after the Mugen Train arc when Tanjiro goes sees Rengoku's family to visit his little brother and his dad. This scene right here clearly indicates that they all are different branches of the sun breathing, which is the original breathing style. But then you say this later in the video.
It's established that sun breathing is the first form of total concentration breathing, and that every other form of breathing is an offshoot of sun breathing that was developed for demon slayers that found sun breathing too difficult to utilize.
So I like how you were questioning the assertion of why all of these function the same in terms of the breathing styles, but then I like how you answered your own fucking question later in the video.
When you create different forms of the same ability, there needs to be strengths and weaknesses to each of them.
See, I like how he says that, but then watch what he says afterwards.
Now, on the surface, this does exist. Thunder breathing is much faster than the other forms in a technical sense.
So if you go back to this image right here, if you read the last paragraph, it clearly indicates water breathing is clearly the easiest to learn, so there's clearly a degree of difficulty to all these other kind of breathing styles.
But in reality, each style of breathing has the same or similar abilities to every other form, meaning they're all functionally the same.
Well, I'm sorry, have you ever thought about that maybe a lot of them are using swords and katanas?
There's never a moment in this series where Tanjiro is at a disadvantage because he's a water breather.
Never a moment in the show where Tanjiro is at a disadvantage. Well then, Captain Einstein, how do you explain this?
Completely meaningless flash with no substance. If you think I'm wrong, then tell me the difference between the following attacks: sound breathing, 4th form; water breathing, 4th form turbulent; and beast breathing, 5th fang.
Hello everybody, not Tanjiro here. In this part of the video, a friend of mine is going to be explaining the distinct difference between the 3 specific attacks he called out. It's now time for a Taisho era secret. Inosuke's beast breathing 5th Fang is actually done in the air. So to give you more explanation about the other attacks, here is my friend Jonathan.
The comparison that he's trying to make is that it's just wild slashes.
Wild slashing, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, one is predicting it from the vibrations of the wind, the other one is just a striking tide. The user performs a series of flowing strikes. So flowing meaning slick, clean, and precise. And then breathing style that mimics the movements, attack, and senses of wild animals. Yeah, so like one is slashing with within the vibration, one is slashing within the movements, making them slick and clean. So it's like like I said, a floor of water, and the other one is slashing wildly without any control.
So there you have it. It's all explained why these are all different in many ways.
There are so many different forms of breathing. There's stone breathing, wind breathing, mist breathing. But what do the female characters use? Insect breathing, flower breathing, love breathing.
I think at this point he just gets a little misogynistic, in my opinion. See, he's complaining that the women characters, yeah, they get feminine breathing styles. In terms of Mitsuri, that's kind of more of her personality. It is established that love breathing is just a branched off version of fire breathing, and guess who was the one who trained her for that? My boy, Rengoku-san. And with Shinobu's case, wasn't able to do flower breathing because, she's more of a, her body is frail, she's a little bit more weaker. So she decided to invent her own kind of technique, which is known as insect breathing. And with Kanao's case, that's more of something that's just passed down to them. By yours truly, my girl, waifu, Shinobu. Kanao is her adopted sister, and since Shinobu was too weak to do flower breathing, she decided to pass it down to Kanao. You even said it in the comment in your video that you don't want people to take that as you being misogynistic, but again, I've never heard anybody making that sort of criticism of the show, which is crazy. And listen, I'm not going to try to cancel anyone for making a funny joke or having some dark humor, but with this clip right here, I mean, it just doesn't help your case at all with this whole misogyny topic.
So you want to be a demon slayer, hey kid? Well, you're gonna need to choose a breathing style. Although, since I see you've got a pair of fatty tissue sacks, these are your only actual options. But since it is Women's History Month, for limited time only, you can try having a job breathing.
Is this nigga serious?
It doesn't even end there. You literally go after my girl Shinobu, which I can't let that slide, my brother.
There are exceptions, such as Shinobu Kocho's insect breathing, which utilizes poison instead of actual blade attacks to take down enemies. Because she's too weak to decapitate demons. The girl is too weak to cut off a demon's head.
You see that emphasis on the girl? Basically just saying, yeah, the woman, she's the weak one, huh? It's not that the characters in this show that are weak are just women, bro. Like, there's plenty of characters who are male and are weak. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say this, because my boy Rengoku, I don't want to disrespect his little brother, but his brother was too weak, and he's a male character.
本来なら私が継ぐことなり、柱の控えとして実績を積まなければならなかった。ある程度の剣術を身につけないと、日輪刀の色は変わらないものですが、どれだけ稽古をつけてもらっても。私はダメだった。剣士になるのは諦めます。
It's not that every woman in the show is weak. I mean, I've already explained the whole situation with Kanao, and of course, if you know about Mitsuri and her backstory, by the time she was already little as an infant, she was already a lot stronger than most average adult males. And going back to the whole point of the men and the male characters also being weak in the show, I mean, just watch the whole Hashira training arc season, where it's not just our main characters like Tanjiro and Inosuke and Zenitsu, but clearly a lot of male characters are also struggling with the training. Well, hold on there, dumb artist. This guy's video came out in June of 2023. The Hashira training arc season came out in February of 2024. But it still doesn't take away the fact that I'm right, because the manga has ended in May of 2020. All I had to do was look up, the Hashira training arc manga on Google, and I found this picture right here. So it still doesn't take away the fact that there are male characters struggling.
Shinobu's poison uses wisteria flower, a type of plant that demons are weak to. Even if the demons don't die from this poison, it does render them weak and slows their ability to regenerate. So why the fuck doesn't every demon slayer coat their blade with this shit?
The only explanation I can find for this point is that I think it's in episode 20 of season 1 called Pretend Family. In the Taisho era secret post-credit scene, at the end of the episode, the only explanation I can find, and it may not be the best one, but at least it's answered in some way. Shinobu basically explains that her and her swordsmith are the only ones who know about this technique of coating their weapons with poison.
ただ刀を振るうだけが鬼殺大使のあり方ではないのですよ。なるほど。それでは大将こそこそ噂話。毒は鞘の中で調合していて、その仕組みは私と担当の刀鍛冶さんしか知らないんですよ。
I do know if I watch a little bit of the video after, I understand that you do say it's not established that the wisteria flower is rare, so why doesn't everybody just cover their blades with the wisteria flower and for its poison?
It's not even established that wisteria flowers are particularly rare. There shouldn't be any reason the other demon slayers can't use it.
And going back to the first point I made about Shinobu, again, she keeps it to herself and her swordsmith. They are the only ones who know about this technique of coating their weapons with the poison from the wisteria flower. And if you have done a little bit of research, and I do understand that the show doesn't really establish whether the wisteria flowers are rare or not, but to answer your question, they are actually not really that rare in this world of Demon Slayer. And I know it may sound like a dumb point, but remember, the wisteria flowers contain poisons, just like in real life, based on the real wisteria flowers. And they are definitely dangerous with working around poisons, so like I said for the millionth times, and I'll say it 1,000,001 more, Shinobu and her swordsmith are the only ones who know about this technique and how to use it. Now we're going off to the Tanjiro slander. This is gonna be fantastic.
I don't like Tanjiro, and it's for the exact same reason that I think a lot of other people do like him. Tanjiro is a very good boy. That's pretty much his entire character.
Goes on to say that, yeah, Tanjiro is a good boy, and the writers want you to like him first and then make him into a good character. That's just all your opinion, and that's okay. You can dislike Tanjiro for that. But the problem I have is that he says that he's a flawless character.
Tanjiro doesn't have flaws. He's a perfect ray of sunshine that does no wrong.
Tanjiro doing nothing wrong, huh? He's a good boy. Well, I would say, as much as I love Nezuko-chan, I would say keeping a demon, regardless of that demon being a sibling, your loved one, or whoever, I say that's pretty wrong, no? Accompanying a demon in this world, the Taisho era, in the world of Demon Slayer, you're basically committing a crime. From the clip that you showed in the beginning, what Tanjiro is doing is he's clearly doing something wrong.
When Urokodaki first meets Tanjiro, his first thought is that Tanjiro is too kind for his own good, which makes him hesitate to kill his enemies. He hesitates so much that the sun comes up and kills the demon before Tanjiro can. In this story, caring too much could be a really big weakness for Tanjiro because it would prevent him from killing dangerous enemies quickly.
What I find hilarious is that he's literally describing a flaw for Tanjiro. He doesn't even mention it, doesn't realize he described a flaw. Yes, I do understand that. If I played a little bit more of that video, of that context of that clip, he says this.
Yet after training with Urokodaki, that side of his character disappears entirely. Don't get me wrong, he's still extremely kind, but it doesn't hold him back anymore.
And yes, you're absolutely right. That's what I like to call character development. But in your own opinion, you don't think that is what character development is.
You could call this character development, but it isn't. It's resolved too fast. It doesn't affect the plot at any point.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news to you, Captain Mac, but don't you understand that this show isn't like One Piece or Bleach or any of these other animes that have 1,000+ episodes? Demon Slayer is established to be a fast-paced show, so just because Tanjiro's character development or any other character for that matter just goes by and flies by quickly, it doesn't mean that there's never any character development at all.
Tanjiro doesn't actually go through the steps of developing, it just kinda happens.
Like I said before, this is a fast-paced fucking show, but there has been development from Tanjiro's character from the beginning to the season what we have now. Also, I like how in this clip I'm about to show you, you're literally explaining what a fast-paced show is.
It's like if an Olympic runner hopped in a golf cart, drove around the track, and then crossed the finish line. Just because they crossed the finish line doesn't mean they ran the race, and they definitely don't deserve an award for it.
The idea of, oh, Tanjiro's kindness just goes away is because the clips that you're showing was before the training, and the clip that you showed of him killing, what was it, the hand demon? That's after he's done the training. But again, I like how that was your point, but you accidentally just revealed that Tanjiro does have a flaw there.
So I saw Tanjiro breaking his sword over and over as a major flaw in his ability to fight that he needs to overcome. But no. After the third time that happens, Tanjiro goes to the swordsmith village and they explain that it's not his fault. His blacksmith is the one to blame for making swords that break so easily.
So if you literally rewind a couple seconds in that clip, you see Tanjiro literally taking accountability for breaking his swords, so why didn't you show this? So in my opinion, this scene in particular that he's talking about, I feel like these Swordsmith Village people were being so modest towards Tanjiro. So the vibes that I get is that whole term and catchphrase, the customer is always right attitude. Like if this was the case, then why the fuck is his own swordsmith? Why is this dude just fucking up Tanjiro every single time? I just feel like this character's existence should just contradict this whole point that you made. I still think it is a flaw for Tanjiro. Not only did he break the sword like multiple times, he's lost his sword. And going back to that clip of Akaza and Tanjiro throwing the sword at him in the Mugen Train movie, how the fuck, in any way, shape, or form, was that the fault of his own swordsmith? That was clearly Tanjiro doing something stupid, which was a clear flaw indicated in that scene from the movie, which is something called being impulsive, or impulsiveness, which is, again, another flaw for Tanjiro. And later in that season, from the clip that you showed, when Tanjiro is training with this kid, he lends him a sword to help him train with the dummy. And guess what? Tanjiro goes on and breaks another sword that was not lended to him by his own swordsmith. And if you think that that flaw for Tanjiro gets negated entirely, then let me ask you a question. How many times has Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro, how many times have they all breaking their swords?
He has no character growth or development, and he really doesn't struggle throughout the story beyond struggling in a fight.
Going back to Nezuko, I would say trying to keep her alive and not her getting killed, or her killing anybody, is a struggle, don't you think? Or even all the times that he's training, that's not fighting, right? So unfortunately, there is a part that I missed in this video, which now I'm going to be addressing, is the part where he calls Tanjiro and implies that he is a chosen one.
I'm going to say something that some people might have a problem with, but I need you to hear me out before you get all up in arms. Tanjiro is a chosen one. Now you might immediately disagree with me because no, Tanjiro is never referred to as the chosen one in this story, nor is there a prophecy foretelling his exploits, which is how a lot of chosen one stories play out.
So you just answer your own question. How the fuck is he a chosen one when in the show there's never like a prophecy scene or this original Sunbreather guy? It's not like he sees into the fucking future and says, this kid in the future in 100+ years, he's gonna be the one to defeat Muzan.
Now, I have a question about Sunbreathing. Why is it the strongest? Or more specifically, why is Tanjiro stronger for being able to use it?
I know you said you've read the manga and watched the anime, but dude, just literally watch the first season, episode 19 called Hinokami. Like, it's literally all explained to you about the sunbreathing stuff. Like, I don't know how you could have missed that. He's implying that the reason why Tanjiro is a chosen one is because how is a low-level ranked noob demon slayer able to do the most powerful breathing, which is the sun breathing?
So, we've got Tanjiro awakening to a long-lost, powerful form of breathing that no one else is capable of using. That's chosen one indicator number 1.
Shout out to the eminent OG. I found this YouTube short video of him basically explaining a quick recap of the whole situation with the original Sunbreather guy, Yoriichi, and the history with the Kamado family.
Why is the Kamado family able to use sun breathing while others failed? It's all linked to the first Kamado ancestor, Tsuneyoshi Kamado. When Yoriichi left the Demon Slayer Corps, he stayed with this family for a few days. During that time, Yoriichi, who was able to perform sun breathing, taught the Kagura dance to the Kamado family and gave them his earrings as a symbol of gratitude for their hospitality without demanding anything in return.
So that basically explains why not everybody could just do the sun breathing technique. That Kamado family had history with the original Sunbreather guy. So now we're getting to the point where he's talking about the mark, which is also implying that that's some other chosen one indicator shit.
See, the interesting thing about the mark is that it can only be manifested if the user has been in contact with someone else who has already manifested the mark. So that begs the question, how did Tanjiro manifest it?
I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious that Tanjiro manifested the mark from his father. If you know the story about his dad, he was born with that mark on his forehead. At first, I thought it was a scar as well, but no, it turns out that's actually a Demon Slayer mark. And yes, I understand the confusion because I was also confused as well. Like, Tanjiro was never born with a mark, so I do understand the confusion and where that comes from. But I understand in the anime where Tanjiro's original scar, where he gets it from when he was little, turns into the Demon Slayer mark. I know that's not really explained well in the anime because the first time we actually see his original scar change is when he was fighting the Hand Demon back in Season 1. And listen, if his father had died before Tanjiro was even born, then yes, you would be right. That would make no sense. But this scene right here clearly indicates that that's not the case. And I know they don't really establish it or tell you right in front of you on how Tanjiro's father ever manifested the mark, But I think him doing the Hinokami dance, I think that's how he was able to manifest it. So it's pretty safe to say that Tanjiro has been in contact with someone who has had the mark previously. To prove my point even further, here's an interesting clip from Rengoku's father when he was writing a letter to Tanjiro.
Rumor has it that those who are chosen to wield sun breathing are born with the same red mark on their forehead that you have. So I'm sure that you will.
So, going back to the whole thing with the mark on Tanjiro's forehead, here's a clip of Captain Mag basically implying that this is just a random magical power buff when Tanjiro needs it.
Shockingly, sun breathing is not the only magical power buff that Tanjiro suddenly awakens to when he needs it.
I mean, in Demon Slayer, it's basically explained later on about the whole thing with the marks and how people were able to manifest it, especially Tanjiro himself. I mean, just read what I'm showing you on the screen. Basically, apply everything you just read to these images right here. It's clearly shown that Tanjiro is on the brink of death, and I can imagine he has, the heart rate of over 200 beats per minute with having very extreme heat body temperature. So no, this isn't some random magical power buff that Tanjiro gets on his forehead when he needs it the most. Like, it's just not correct at all. So just like the sun breathing, I think the same thing could be applied with the mark. Like, this all could have just been easily debunked, but I like how you say this and that it's not explained in your video.
No explanation for why Tanjiro gets the mark is ever offered. He's just special that way, I guess.
In this part of the video, he's going to talk about how are these newbies, and how did Tanjiro, after 100+ years, how did Tanjiro, a newbie character with some of his friends, kill an upper rank?
That's an upper rank demon. And that's his head being removed, thereby killing him. So that's pretty huge, huh? First upper rank demon to go down in over a century.
I will admit, Tanjiro definitely has a lot of plot armor, because he's the main character. I mean, is this a surprise? I mean, you also make it seem like this was a walk in the park for Tanjiro, in that he literally came out of the battle unscathed.
Because it stands to reason that a novice or even intermediate level sun breathing user would be weaker than a master sounding user. Yet which one of these fuckheads lost an arm in this fight?
So which one of these fuckheads have literally their fingers broken, being stabbed from underneath the chin/jaw with the blade coming out of the mouth, while on top of that being poisoned, while also doing multiple breathing techniques, which is established that it takes a very, very hard toll on your body. And listen, as much as I love my boy Tengen, and not to take anything away from him, because yes, he definitely lost an arm, but which one of these fuckheads at the end of the battle as a result ended up in a 2-month fucking coma? But nope, you're totally right. Tanjiro came out of this totally perfectly fine and unscathed.
It makes even less sense when you consider that the demons wield a poison that every character is for some reason immune to. The poison is supposed to at least weaken them, but they still manage to win.
It's not that the characters are immune to the poison. Giritaro literally says this. So in this world, you can literally use your breathing techniques to at least slow down the process of the poison.
The reality is that there is no valid explanation for why not a single upper rank demon has been killed over the past 100 years. And this is the final and greatest indicator that Tanjiro is the chosen one.
So since you love One Piece so much, I'm gonna go by your logic. So does that mean that Luffy, a low-level, no-bounty pirate at this time from this clip that I'm showing you versus Arlong, does that mean that Luffy is now suddenly a chosen one because he was able to defeat a pirate with the highest bounty in the East Blue when nobody else prior could ever defeat Arlong?
This is what I like to call the center of the world protagonist writing method. The idea behind it is that the entire world is stagnant and unchanging until the protagonist becomes a part of it, at which point the world suddenly starts changing and moving forward. I have never seen an example of this writing method being used that works. It is always bad, because it suggests that nothing can happen in a story's world without the involvement of the protagonist.
So, by that logic, you must hate every anime then, goddamn. Or at least animes that have conflict, and obviously a main character protagonist that, turning the tides in our favor type of cliche. I need to ask, why is this a Demon Slayer only criticism? You could literally apply this to every other anime. Example, the one I can think of that I just recently watched and finished, by the way, so spoilers for season 1, Kaiju number 8. So it's established that in this world, it's just a normal world in Japan, except that there's big ugly monsters called kaijus. Our main character shows up and wants to become part of this military called the Defense Force, who are specially trained professional badasses to kill kaijus. And not to get too detailed and nasty and descriptive, basically Kafka, the main character, gets the power of the kaiju. Well, damn, there's some conflict there, right? He wants to work and be a part of the military defense force who are trained to kill kaijus, but now he has the power of one. So damn, that's a very big conflict for our main character, Kafka, right? And to make a long story short, near the end of the season, everybody finds out that this dude is working in the military while also having kaiju powers. And by the end of the season, it's like, they decided to not kill Kafka and have a kaiju work for them, which has never happened before. So now the world has started moving, changing the ways because of the protagonist's existence. You can basically apply that to almost every anime that has a protagonist and conflict. So here in this video, he's going to talk about Zenitsu and how he's basically just an atrocious character.
This is Zenitsu. I hate Zenitsu. His two characteristics are that he is horny and a coward. His character does not have any depth beyond that.
If Zenitsu was a horny character, he's a creep and he's a simp, I will say that, and basically a lover boy. Characters who are actually horny and stuff like that would be characters like Brook and Sanji from One Piece. He straight up goes up to women and says, "Let me see your panties." You don't see Zenitsu saying shit like that.
Pants. 見せてもらってもよろしいですか?
But in terms of being a coward, I'll give you that one. He's a coward. So here he describes the whole thing of Zenitsu falling asleep and how it just doesn't make sense how he's able to communicate with some characters while he's sleeping.
While asleep, Zenitsu is still capable of rational thought, and we can hear his unconscious inner monologue, which is a total oxymoron. He's even capable of speaking and communicating with other characters and strategizing with them.
So, I don't know if you have noticed, it's not just with Zenitsu that talks to himself having inner monologue. You literally see that with Tanjiro and other Demon Slayers when they call out their moves. The purpose of the show is not trying to be realistic. I see this more as a quirky thing, but like I said, if we're gonna try to make this as real as possible and why he's able to communicate and have inner monologue in his head while also talking to other characters while he's sleeping, my interpretation, my guess is that he's just sleeping and that he's sleepwalking and sleep talking. Though with Demon Slayer, yes, it's a fictional show, but the stuff that Zenitsu does is actually sort of realistic when it comes to people having sleeping disorders. Did you never meet anyone in your life who has some sort of disorder where they're sleepwalking and talking? And going back to this picture right here, if you read the last sentence with often without any memory of the event, it's very accurate to how Zenitsu is after the end of every battle when he wakes up after his sleep. In this part of the video, just shitting on Zenitsu, that's really his only point, in that he just hates how he's loud and quirky.
So he's just awake with more steps! It's just quirky for the sake of being quirky! It's a complete waste of character writing!
You act like if Zenitsu is the only character ever in the anime universe who acts like this. I mean, let's not forget more quirky characters for the sake of being quirky. And oh boy, I mean, look at all these characters. I mean, going back to One Piece, Usopp is another great example. Oh my god, where is this cold coming from all of a sudden? Bro, and the fact that you said that this dude sexually assaults the female characters.
He gets scared and cries and screams constantly, or he tries to sexually assault the female characters. That's it! That's all there is to him!
Listen, I agree with the first part, but the true definition of sexual assault, as I'm showing you on the screen, I mean, if this was true, I mean, first of all, Zenitsu is 16, 15 years old, and if this were the case, in the world of Demon Slayer, there are law enforcement. If Zenitsu is actually sexually assaulting any female character, this dude would be fucking arrested.
I can say in plain terms that Rengoku is a terribly written character.
Hell no, bro. I'm not gonna take any Rengoku slander, you hear me?
Rengoku is introduced alongside the rest of the Hashira. He's immediately introduced by talking about how Nezuko is a demon and should therefore be killed without being given a proper chance. And that Tanjiro should also be killed for protecting her.
I mean, those are the laws in this world, dude. Obviously, Rengoku doesn't know these fucking characters. They're just complete siblings, strangers, and one of them is a demon. So, of course, he's just gonna say that, yeah, let's kill them, kill the demon sister, and then kill the brother after.
After that, we don't see Rengoku again until Tanjiro and his gang get sent to a demon-slaying job on a train, where Rengoku immediately makes a complete 180 by being very friendly towards Tanjiro and his friends.
You make it seem like the scene that you showed here and the one after, it happened simultaneously. You make it seem like that was all the same episode. Look at the gap between that episode and the one where they actually meet Rengoku on the train for the first time. It's like you forgot that these guys were going through training in all these episodes and then they were sent to do the mission on the train. But also, did you forget that the master was cool with it? Of course, he's gonna follow his own boss, his own leader's decisions. That's how it works. Obviously, when you're a Hashira or a Demon Slayer, you have to respect the master and the head of the Demon Slayer Corp.
Tanjiro. それでもまだ禰豆子のことを心よく思わない者もいるだろう。証明しなければならない。これから炭治郎と禰豆子が鬼殺隊として戦えること、役に立てること。
Now, in terms of Rengoku's character writing, he's really not that bad. He's not good either. He's an incredibly boring character.
Dude, all this Rengoku slander for what?
He's a generic good boy, a lot like Tanjiro in many ways, but I don't actively hate him like Zenitsu.
Damn, fucking Zenitsu's just catching all the fade for no reason, bro. What the fuck did he do? Basically, to summarize this portion of Rengoku's section of the video is that he hates how he's barely introduced in the show, becomes an important character to Tanjiro and the main characters, and then boom, he dies.
What Gotoge is trying to do here is to introduce a character right before they get killed and then try to convince us that their death is meaningful because he wants Tanjiro and his friends to find motivation in the death of someone they cared about without having to kill off an established character.
You can literally say this about a lot of other animes where the main protagonist has had a mentor, whether it's a friend, a dad, a trainer, your sensei, it doesn't matter. And then they end up dying to motivate the characters to move forward with the plot. Dude, this isn't anything new. You know what I mean? Again, a lot of it's just bullshit that could easily be proven wrong about the character. And yeah, like I said, no slander to my boy, Rengoku-san.
Rengoku, like Tanjiro, is a flawless character, which means he's boring for the same reasons. Flawless characters are not relatable because people are not flawless.
Going back to the flawless stuff, like listen, Rengoku is a lot of things, but flawless isn't one of them. He thinks that characters in the show who smile a lot and happy-go-lucky just automatically means that they're flawless. Listen, I'm not trying to get too real and sentimental here, but like, it's established that Tanjiro is a pure soul. Regardless of any troubles that Tanjiro goes through, he's just gonna smile through it and move on. Because he still has a purpose, technically, with Nezuko, to protect her and change her back to human. With Rengoku's case, it's the same thing. He was dealing with an abusive alcoholic father, or his mom dying from an illness. And again, it's the same thing with these two characters that I noticed. Like, they do the whole, it's better to laugh and smile than to cry. You know, the people with the biggest smiles are often the most sad on the inside. That's the vibe I get with these two characters. Like, they both have dealt with past traumas. Again, because they smile a lot and like all happy, cheery, go lucky, it doesn't mean flawless. Not to go back to being real or whatever, but yeah. With Rengoku's case, I imagine some people can deal with having abusive alcoholic parents in their past, or even losing a loved one, a mom or a dad. Him saying that they're flawless characters, even though they literally dealt with loss of family, really pisses me off. And not just because, Rengoku slander for the memes. No, like, I feel like that's a serious subject for me. Like, that's a serious subject for me when it comes to losing family. Again, just because we smile and doesn't mean we're flawless. And to say that these characters as well who also lost family, I found it a little bit relatable in my life. Just because some people don't relate to the situation, it doesn't mean that Rengoku and Tanjiro can't motivate and relate to people.
The problem is that Rengoku is written as an incomplete character. He has no flaws, he has no relationship with the other characters.
I beg your pardon?
Him saying that Rengoku doesn't have relations with other characters is such a idiotic thing to say. So if Rengoku has no relations with other characters, then how is it that every Hashira is able to explain how they feel about Rengoku?
話が噛み合わない時がありますけれど。はべ、俺より目立つな。でもめっちゃいいやつだ。フクロウみたい。快活な声が心地よい人。かっこいいお兄様。一緒に修行して楽しかった。可愛がってもらいました。よく話す。性格がいい。いいやつだ。前向き。弱音を吐かない。正直。よく話しかけてくれる。
What about this scene right here with Michiro, where he's literally thinking of Rengoku?
預かってた唾を入れてたので助かりました。棚につけてほしいって言われてたんですよ。
うん。柱として共に頑張ろう。
Or what about this Taisho era secret with Mitsuri?
大正こそこそ噂話。煉獄さんはかっこいいお兄様。一緒に修行していろんなこと教えてもらったし、可愛がってもらったの。それにね、煉獄さんもいっぱい食べるのよ。こんな大きな釜いっぱいに炊いたさつまいもご飯をね、二人で食べたの。
わっしょい。
お、はい。
Or what about this scene right here with Tengen?
煉獄、お前ならどう戦う？
俺だってお前のようにできはしない。
煉獄、
お前の剣技は美しい。妻はちょっと多すぎるがな。かまど少年を、黄色い少年を、井の頭少年を頼んだぞ、うずい。
派手に任せておけや。
That's a lot for someone who's never interacted with these characters, isn't it? So going back to Rengoku and talking about his flaws, here's a clip from Captain Mac trying to get ChatGPT to criticize Rengoku as a character.
In fact, Rengoku is so loved by the community that when I asked ChatGPT to tell me why he sucks as a character, the AI refused to do it out of fear of being cancelled.
Wait a minute, so why in the hell didn't you use ChatGPT to ask it, I don't know, maybe the flaws that Rengoku has as a character? And I did that, and these were the results that you see on my screen. And not just Rengoku, I literally did the same thing with Tanjiro. I asked ChatGPT to name me a list of flaws for Tanjiro from the anime Demon Slayer, and I got these results right here. And if you had any other questions from the show, then why didn't you use ChatGPT? And I understand that people are skeptical of using AI as much as I was, but listen, I've watched the show, I've done my due diligence and my research, so I had no problem using ChatGPT. As far as I know, everything has been accurate. So if you had any other questions about the anime, you should have just used it instead of, I don't know, try to get the ChatGPT AI to criticize a character you don't like.
And we did not learn what he lived for, what his motivations were.
So keep that in mind when he says that, but then I like how the sentence after he says this.
And no, I don't count his desire to protect people as motivation because his mommy told him to is a super weak reason for that desire since that relationship wasn't fleshed out.
This was a wish of a dying mother, bro. Like, are you fucking serious? Of course anybody would use that as their motivation. It's almost like you took the important part of Rengoku's motivations and said, oh yeah, we're not counting that one. You make it seem like his mom is all alive and well, but did you forget that she died from an illness? Because if you know the backstory, Kiichiro Rengoku didn't want to become a Hashira until all of that happened. His dad was going to force him to become one, but then when his mom passed away, it gave him the motivation. His dad wasn't even going to train Rengoku. Rengoku literally learned how to do fire breathing from a fucking book and how to master it in the best he can.
First off, did you know that Rengoku taught himself the Breath of Flame? Even though Rengoku's father was the past Flame Hashira, he only trained Rengoku for 3 months to teach him basic sword skills, and then couldn't be asked to continue due to his alcoholism and depression. So Kyojiro goes into the Rengoku family records and reads 3 volumes of the Flame Breathing Guidebook created by the family in the past, and not only teaches himself, but does such a good job that he quickly becomes a Hashira.
So wouldn't you say that's a character with flaws, by the way?
It is possible to have Rengoku exist and have his death be meaningful. One easy way would be to make Rengoku an asshole.
I like how he says this, that Rengoku could have just been an asshole, but then you literally said this earlier in the video.
Mind you, I don't think every character needs to be written as a piece of shit to be engaging. You can write lovable characters that are still flawed.
So you don't expect pieces of shit characters to be compelling, but then now you want Rengoku to be a piece of shit?
Let's talk about Genya, because boy oh boy do I have some things to say about this lad. Genya is possibly, if not the single greatest missed opportunity in this entire series.
This is me from the future. Again. There was a lot that I didn't say in this video, especially with the section with Genya, so I had to unfortunately do a retake. So here, let's watch.
It is literally just breathing a certain way. Yet for some unexplained reason, Genya is incapable of breathing, apparently.
Wow, poor Genya. Poor guy can't breathe, man. The way he explains breathing styles, like I talked about earlier in the video, he's gonna make it seem like Genya just can't breathe at all. Like, bro, how many times do I need to explain about the whole thing when it comes to, I don't know, the training that they go through, or the rehabilitation training? The training that Tanjiro went through in the first few episodes with Orikadaki-san? I hate this idea and this implication that all you have to do is just breathe in and out. and boom, I could do, I don't know, wind breathing or some shit.
He can eat the flesh of a demon in order to temporarily gain access to their powers, including their regenerative abilities. So that raises the question, how is that possible?
When it comes to Genya and his powers, it's not really answered in a lot of ways and how he's able to do it. I mean, the only spoiler that I've seen when it comes to, you know, for the Infinity Castle arc, apparently it's something in his bloodline, in that that's why he's able to do what he does with his powers. I mean, again, that's the only explanation that I've heard. I don't know if it's, I guess, a little bit of a spoiler warning, I guess.
I mentioned earlier that one of the things I find frustrating about the series is that Tanjiro's very existence manages to break a century-old stalemate between the demons and the humans. As soon as Tanjiro becomes a part of the Demon Slayer Corps, things suddenly start moving in the direction of defeating Muzan. The one and only defense that I can think of for this aspect of Demon Slayer's writing is that Tanjiro is special. He has the mark on his face that increases his physical abilities, as well as the ability to use sun breathing, which is inexplicably stronger than the other breathing techniques. These abilities are what set Tanjiro apart from the other Demon Slayers, and it's that edge that arguably allows him to break the stalemate.
Going back to the whole point of, like, things are going in their favor with the protagonist's existence in this world, whatever anime it's from. Again, brother, you can literally apply that to a bunch of other animes. Not all of them. And did we forget that in terms of the genre, in terms of the style of anime Demon Slayer is, I don't know, it's something called shonen? So no shit stuff like this would happen, and that things are turning for the better because of the existence of Tanjiro.
So what the fuck? Genya is special too! The motherfucker can literally use the power of demons against them, yet he's been unable to achieve the same feats as Tanjiro? Hell, Genya's abilities are theoretically better than Tanjiro's!
No, I don't think so. Just rewind your own fucking video and listen to what you said earlier, and that Genya couldn't even do something that Tanjiro can, is doing breathing styles. And going back to the question you had earlier of the sun breathing and why is it the strongest, I mean, that's just like the simplest fucking question anybody could ask about the show. And I don't know, is it because maybe the demon's weakness is the sun? And the breathing style that Tanjiro is able to use has the weakness for the demons, the sun breathing? I find it insane that you even had to ask that question of why is it the strongest.
And lastly, to add insult to injury, after Tanjiro and Genya fight together, Genya suddenly stops being the massive asshole he was shown to be. He's just a nice guy all of a sudden. That is not character development. He was never given a reason to change, nor did he go through the process of changing.
Listen, Mac, everybody can have their differences in opinion of Demon Slayer, but when you're clearly being disingenuous in this part of the video, just like the many other examples and the stuff that I've debunked. But at the end of the day, you still have the right to dislike the show. I'm not going to hate anybody for disliking the show. This one was just an easy home run for me, bro. Did you forget that Tanjiro literally saved Genya's life?
俺、才能なかったよ、兄ちゃん。呼吸も使えないし、柱にはなれない。
ゲイヤー！諦めるな！もう一度狙え！行け！ゲイヤー！俺じゃ切れない。今回だけはお前に譲る！
And to me, when it comes to Genya as a character and the whole thing with his relationship with his brother Sanemi, Genya will do whatever it takes to get his brother's validation and support. When Genya was on the verge of giving up, Tanjiro is literally encouraging him, which is something I would imagine never gotten from his brother Sanemi. Tanjiro is literally being Genya's hype man, telling him like, yo, you can't become a Hashira and just basically not to give up or whatever. So in conclusion to all that, Tanjiro was giving something that Genya himself never gotten from his older brother. Validation, support, encouraging him to keep fighting, while Sanemi was telling him the opposite and just to fuck off and don't become a Demon Slayer.
These characters have one or two characteristics that are exaggerated and thrown in your face constantly. Despite what you may think, I don't expect every character to have an ocean's level of depth. But these motherfuckers don't even have puddles. These characters are the basin in a desert that used to be an ocean millions of years ago, but now you just find nothing but dust to choke on.
I mean, I get it, he's not wrong. Like, so a lot of these characters do have one or two traits and they over-exaggerate it. But wow, I mean, it's not like other animes exist where they do this, right? I get that you don't like this show, but like, why is it that every flaw in writing in general in animes, like why is it all applied to this one show and acting like if Demon Slayer is the only anime that does this? Again, this isn't a Demon Slayer only thing. You can apply this, for fucking forget it. That concludes this part of the Genya section. So here he's going to be complaining about the characters and the backstories. But here is me from the past. And so in this section of his video, it's called So Many Backstories.
It wouldn't be so bad if Gotoge wasn't trying desperately to convince you that these characters are deeper than they appear. He does this by making sure that legitimately every fucking character gets a backstory. The good guys get backstories, the bad guys get backstories, the barely relevant characters get backstories. It's a goddamn backstory battle royale where they're all competing to be the least relevant!
So like, what the fuck do you want? Do you want these characters just to spawn into the world like Minecraft? And then boom, that's it without having any character depth? I get it, backstories aren't really the original tactic to kind of get you into the mood, into liking the characters. I understand that's not an original tactic whatsoever of using flashbacks and backstories.
Having a lot of backstories is not in and of itself a problem. The issue is that none of the backstories are used in a meaningful way.
So then why is your category called So Many Backstories and you were literally criticizing it earlier and how mad you got? Also, did you forget that you literally said this earlier in your own video?
Despite what you may think, I don't expect every character to have an Ocean's level of depth.
Besides all that, I'm glad that he actually acknowledges in his own video about his own contradiction when he does this.
Now I know this is rich, coming from me, because...
I just love that you're complaining about the backstory stuff in Demon Slayer when you literally have all the manga collections of One Piece. And as someone who actually watches One Piece, like, the irony in this is crazy.
Oh, I've actually seen a lot of people praise this aspect of the writing, but I don't really understand why. A theme throughout Demon Slayer is that every demon was once human, and that, at heart, they might not necessarily be evil. For example, during the backstory of the first upper-ranked demon that Tanjiro and his friends defeated, you learn that they mostly did what they did to protect each other. But what does knowing that change for us as the audience? How does that knowledge recontextualize their actions?
It doesn't. It just makes you kind of feel bad. Otherwise, these characters would have just been boring upper moons. In this season of Demon Slayer's arc, I am the bad guy. Like, did you just want them wearing a shirt saying that? Obviously, it doesn't recontextualize their actions. It just shows that they were once human and yeah, you do feel bad for them.
Again, I understand the desire to humanize the demons, but the problem is that nothing is done with that concept.
It's a flashback. What the fuck do you want it to do? They're dead. It doesn't matter what happens afterwards. We get introduced to them. They fight with our main protagonist. They get defeated, and then we get their sob story, and then that's it. Just because it's unoriginal, it doesn't mean it's not effective.
Let's talk about world building, which is something that Demon Slayer is sorely lacking in. There is nothing done to establish the state of the world at large outside of the limited sphere of the Demon Slayer core and their battle against the demons. I say limited because the existence of the demons, and therefore the Demon Slayer core, is not even general knowledge. Demons are few enough in number that they're seen as urban legend. So that begs the question, what is going on outside this limited sphere?
So you hate that characters getting so many backstories, but then now it just seems like you want the world, the Taisho era in Demon Slayer world, to get more backstory and lore for the sake of world building. And just like you showed in your video, you read a lot of One Piece. So this to me just seems like you have what I call the One Piece standards. Not every show has to be One Piece or like One Piece. For me, it seems like Demon Slayer is just more character driven rather than about the world.
If we're in the Taisho era, then how is World War I affecting the Demon Slayer's ability to operate? What's the state of the common people, and how does it relate to the demon's threat to humankind?
So the first point he made is the whole thing with World War I and how is it affecting the world of Demon Slayer? So are you going to say the same thing with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2 with Joseph and say, I mean, if you look at the time period, say, I wonder what's going on with Hitler around this time in World War II? Or do you just do this thing in the animes where you watch the time period and learn from where the time is from, and are you going to imply real world events that happen into the anime? Or like I said, is it just a Demon Slayer problem?
No, even a basic explanation of where in Japan all this is taking place is not answered, nor is there any kind of explanation as to how each location in the story relates to one another.
I mean, you literally could have just done some ChatGPT research where you would just Google and here you get the results on where it's located. As I'm showing you right here, there are some places that are inspired by real places in Japan, but obviously it's kind of fictional in Demon Slayer. And when it comes to some places not being intertwined is because, like for example, the Ubuyashiki Mansion, where all the Hashiras are at, or even the Swordsmith Village, those places are sort of hidden in the mountains, especially the Swordsmith Village. And it's all established that it's a complicated process to get there, and it's hidden for a reason, I guess, to have the advantage over the demons. So to answer his question of why maybe some of these places don't intertwine together, that is the reason why.
It's like levels in a video game. You're at Demon Slayer HQ, then you're at the Butterfly Mansion, then you're at the Entertainment District without any idea what it took to get there.
And also him saying that they never tell you what it takes to get to certain locations is not true. Like, it's shown that they walk a lot. Or if you watch the Mugen Train arc, they take trains, they take horse carriages, or they walk. They even tell you how do they get to the Swordsman Village, even though like you have to be blindfolded and someone has to carry you there. This part of the video, I don't know why, like he just criticizes the manga and how it looks like.
I read the manga, and the action scenes in the manga are very poorly executed. It's really important for the art in an action manga to convey what is going on from one panel to the next, so the reader can follow what is happening. Look, art is subjective. In fact, all of this is.
See, like, that's insane that he says that, but then presents the video title itself like if it's a fact. I don't mind people having different opinions, but when people are presenting their opinions as factual, that's where I have a problem.
If you're thinking of leaving a comment at some point informing me that all of this is my opinion, then congratulations, you're right. You stated a fact that does not counter my arguments or disprove my points.
Oh, Morocco.
Take a look at this great page, where the onomatopoeia actually blocks the action so you can't see anything. Or this page here. If you're seeing this page for the first time without any context, please do me a favor and take a guess at what is happening in the comments.
If you're having problems with figuring out what's going on in the manga or if the attacks had any impact, watch the anime! In the pictures that you're showing in the manga, guess what? They're black and white. Do you want a colored version of the manga then? With how flashiness the fights are in Demon Slayer, obviously you're not going to convey the impact well when it's black and white.
And Jesus, the character designs are awful. What is this? They look like they were ripped off a teenager's DeviantArt page.
See, like the picture you're showing isn't the best example because clearly when characters look like this from a faraway shot, they obviously gonna look like little kids. They look tiny as hell. Obviously, it's not fully rendered details of the characters. So of course, you pick out the worst picture of these Hashiras. It's more of a faraway shot, so obviously they look kinda goofy.
This guy's supposed to be the main villain? I'm supposed to be intimidated by him? He looks like he's about to tip his fedora to Milady.
I'm happy that he didn't pull the easy trigger here and just saying that he looks like Michael Jackson. But if we know back in the day in China and Japan, if he were dressed like how Muzan is dressed in this time era, basically associated with gangs, loyalty, money, power, like you name it. So here he's just criticizing the characters. I mean, they're cartoon characters. They're not real people.
And why do they all look like kids? Like every single character looks like a child. Some of them are. Tanjiro's only 15, but this dude 27? He looks like he just got to high school. Even the old characters look like children dressing up like adults.
Honestly, it's hard to portray what certain characters' ages are and draw them accurately. Because obviously, it's going to be so fucking hard to draw accurately on how a 15-year-old versus a 27-year-old would look like. So Captain Mac here, Mr. Art of Subjective, is complaining about characters from Demon Slayer looking like children and complaining about how they don't match their age. I mean, look at this fucking video that I'm showing you. Do you think any of these anime characters look like their age?
The last thing I want to talk about is how Demon Slayer wraps up plot lines, which means we enter the territory of anime-only spoilers. So, if you don't have the ending of this mess spoiled, please skip ahead to the following timecode to hear my final thoughts.
I have not read the manga. I'm caught up with the show, and I don't know how Infinity Castle concludes, which is the final season and movies that are coming supposedly in September, in Japan at least. I don't want myself to get spoiled by anything, because I'm the guy doing the conductive research, and I'm the guy also editing the video as well, and if I'm doing the research for ending stuff, I'm going to compromise myself with spoilers. We're just going to move on to the concluding thoughts. Throughout this final section of the video is that he expects the show to have some flaws, but for some reason can't excuse it for Demon Slayer though. He even says like not every show can be perfect.
Are our standards this low that this derivative garbage can become a generation-defining piece of media? You cannot expect the things you read or watch to be perfect. You cannot expect them to have no flaws. But for God's sake, people, have higher standards than this.
I don't know why you have this expectation because this show is so popular that it needs to be perfect and it's not allowed to have any flaws. It's insane to me. This show can have flaws and it does. Like listen, you can dislike the show, but like that's just such a stupid and unfair argument to have. Expecting this show because the show did so well, the movie was like the highest grossing movie in Japan in 2020, or like very big manga sales charts. Just because it's one of the top list animes for younger generations as well, it doesn't mean that this show is fucking perfect. So basically that wraps up his video there. So in conclusion, I just hate this fucking trend when people are literally wasting their own damn time to like watch something or read something knowing that they're gonna hate it. You're just essentially wasting your own time then. You said it yourself, anime is subjective, it can have flaws, but yet you want this show to be perfect. Like, that's just the culture of YouTube, that's just content, to each of their own, and that's all there is to it. I'm happy to make a video again, and hopefully it does well with all the time and effort I put into it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, have your own opinions, sure, but don't be presenting them like they're fact. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.
The people that agree with me will praise the accuracy of my arguments, while the people that don't will find any number of straw man arguments for why I'm unfit to criticize it at all.